What is up, YouTube? Welcome to my channel at Nick Reads Books. I am Nick, and today I'm going to be going through my spoiler and spoiler-free thoughts and opinions on Red Rising by P.S. Brown. Red Rising is a sci-fi slash fantasy book, which is the start of the Red Rising series. A quick synopsis of the book. Earth is dying and man has made its way out into the stars, and we are introduced to our main character, Darrow. Darrow is a red and lives under the surface of Mars. Darrow is what they call a helldiver, pretty much a miner, or one of the most skilled miners in his colony or town, as you might put it. And from there are revelations to what is actually going on. I'll leave that as vague as I can. I think going in, you don't really want to know much more. I knew a little bit more, and it kind of ruined the surprise, I think, of what's going on. With the recent release of the 6th novel in the series, Lightbringer, I really wanted to dive into Red Rising. I've been hearing really great things about the series. First person is a little different for me. I don't usually read a lot of first person, so it was interesting to read that, and I really enjoyed the book. But with that being said, let's get into my rating for Red Rising. So the overall rating that I gave Red Rising was an 8.33 out of 10. For emotional impact, I gave it an 8.25. For characters, I gave it an 8.7. For plot, I gave it an 8.2. For prose, I gave it an 8.2. And for world building, I gave it an 8.25. So overall, I thought the book was really solid. A really great entry into this series. And to be honest, I'm probably being a little harsh on the book, or some people might think I'm not being harsh enough, but overall, let's just say the pure vibes of the book was amazing. I read this book in about 4 days, probably my quickest read of the year so far, and it was just non-stop action. Couldn't put the book down, just wanted to know what was going to happen next and how the book was going to wrap up. But with that being said, let's dive into the characters, or should I say hell dive into the characters. So, as it is pretty obvious, the main character of this book is Darrow, helldiver of Lycos, and we are in his head for the entire book. Just to be warned, this is the start of the spoiler section, so from here on I'm going to be talking about all things spoilers for the first book, Red Rising. I really enjoyed Darrow as the main character. I think P.S. Brown did an excellent job of making a likable main character, someone who goes through a lot of early book trauma, and we see the reactions from that. One gripe I might have is that Darrow is just awesome. He is the best, and he is the best at everything, and he was born special. Darrow is a special man. No, but seriously, I think that showing how Darrow has grown up in this dangerous environment, he's the youngest helldiver, I believe, ever, and using that experience throughout the book to say as to why he thinks the way he does, and acts the way he does, and why he's so good with his hands, why he has such a strong grip. That sort of thing I think worked really well. And because we are shown the harsh environment that he is growing up in, I think that gives the reader sort of a suspension of disbelief when later in the book he might do things that seem, well, I mean, they are going to be inhuman because they're golds and they're like superhumans, but it gives a sense of understanding as to why he might be able to do these things that we might not think possible. Obviously, at the beginning of the book, Darrow loses his first love. She becomes a bit of a martyr, and that kickstarts the book. I really liked how later in the book he has conflicting feelings when he meets up with Mustang, and they look after each other, heal each other, and he starts to have feelings for Mustang, but is hesitant and unsure whether to follow on those feelings, obviously because he's just recently lost his first wife within the last year. I think Darrow experiences a lot of hardships in this first book, losing family members, being ripped away from his family, as I said, losing his first wife, but then he also creates a lot of friends while in the Institute. And I am really excited to see how Darrow grows in the Golden Sun, from all accounts and everything that I've heard, Golden Sun is an absolute step up from the first book and amazing. So I'm really excited to see that. I just wanted to touch on a few of the minor characters, not in great depth, just to say some of the things I liked about them, which ones I did like. First, I think the biggest minor character that stood out to me was Severo. The man is an absolute psycho, and we come to learn why that might be. His dad being one of the teachers of the institute, and the way he views the world, and showing that he wants to show the world that regardless of your birthright or where you come from, that you can succeed. That's all I'm going to touch on about the characters, so I'm going to move into the plot of the book. Overall, I thought the plot was decent. I think what people dislike if they go in not knowing anything about the book is that this is pretty much Hunger Games in space. And if you go in knowing that, I think that this book you can really enjoy it. If you go in expecting some grand space opera that is going to have world-changing events, massive stakes, I think you're going to be disappointed. But if you go in expecting the Hunger Games, you're going to really enjoy it. To be honest, I think it did the Hunger Games sort of model better. It felt harsher. I thought it was cooler adding the gold element and then being sort of superhuman. It touched on some, I think, darker topics a couple of times. Actually, I was surprised that some of these sexual harassment and sexual assault cases, there was a couple of them, which I thought was a bit of an interesting choice. I don't read many books where that occurs, so that was a little bit of a shock for me. But overall, I thought the plot was a real great setup to the greater, and I think what the series turns into, a very grand space opera. One gripe I did have about the plot was I actually thought that Darrow was going to be staying as a red and versing the golds. Obviously, this doesn't make sense for the book overall, because he wouldn't be able to get into the institute if he wasn't a gold. But yeah, that was a bit of a surprise as well for me. But overall, as I said, I thought the plot was well done. So moving into the world building, this book felt really contained. Obviously, a lot of it is spent in the institute with our young gold students. But I think this really set up us to really get to know the characters, really get to know Darrow especially, and these are the characters that are going to be moving forward into the other books that are going to affect and have massive effects on the world building, I believe. Overall, it alluded to, I really liked the inclusion of the weapons, talking about the politics from planet to planet, the fleets, how the power structure in this world works, the different colors, how they're fleshed out. Each of the colors has a certain job, which I think is really interesting. So just to conclude the video, I think Red Rising was an amazing book, and I think everyone should check it out just to give it a go and see if you like it. And if you do, like myself, I'll be jumping into Golden Sun this month at the end, after I finish what I'm currently reading, which is Valor by John Gwynne. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and been a little inconsistent with the uploads, but I've got a couple of videos lined up, so keep an eye out for those. See ya.